Transhumanism is an intellectual movement discussing and oftentimes promoting the enhancement of the human condition through technology. The resulting post-human could be stronger than any person on Earth right now. They could be faster, they might age at a slower rate, if at all, perhaps through genetic modification, perhaps through advancements in robotic prosthetics. They might have full control over their physical appearance, being able to fully express who they are on the inside through their biological form. Or perhaps they would not be biological at all, but exist as disembodied engrams uploaded to the cloud. Ghosts in the machine. Maybe they could communicate telepathically via brain implants. Through exocortices, their cognitive abilities might be beyond our understanding. Such a being might come to regard human 1.0 as we think of a chimpanzee. Only this time, that evolution would have been self-directed. This has always had an undeniable appeal to me. It's why transhumanism was the subject of my dissertation. Augmenting the human body through technology might seem like the next step for a technologically advanced civilization, but I believe it to be hubris. I think it would end in ruin. Of course, there are economic, sociological, psychological, and even existential issues to contend with. What happens when only certain people can afford the enhancements needed to succeed in life? What becomes of our humanity when we can alter our emotions at will? Where do we draw the line as to what's acceptable? But there is a much deeper, more fundamental issue to consider. The fact that perhaps the human body simply cannot be improved upon. Not by us. Not yet. You might point to the incredible examples of robotic limbs controlled by the mind, or perhaps examples of seemingly impossible neural networks simulating animal brains on a computer. Maybe you'd explain that we can already create extremely muscular beings through myostatin blocking gene modification and the resultant double muscling it brings. Perhaps you're impressed by what you've seen from Neuralink. But all of these examples are extremely flawed. Our understanding of the human body is so laughably limited that we could not possibly hope to improve on it in any meaningful way right now. The best way to start significantly improving ourselves right now is by adopting beneficial habits and making them a part of our routine. That's where today's sponsor, Fabulous, comes in, the #1 self-care app to help you build better habits and achieve your goals. Fabulous is a habit tracking app that employs concepts from behavioural science to help you adopt new habits and stick with them. Alternatively, take part in journeys that immerse you in a personalised adventure over several weeks. These include motivational letters and challenges to help you improve your lifestyle in meaningful ways. It's a digital coach in your pocket. You can also get support and ideas from the community of over 30 million users via circles. I use Fabulous to keep track of the shorter movements and incidental workouts that I like to do throughout the day, as well as to remind me to use my brain training app, BioMind, among other things. New habits and routines are meaningless until we actually stick with them, and that makes Fabulous an extremement powerful tool. Teach a man to fish and all that. Start building your ideal daily routine. The first 100 people who click the link below will get 25% off their Fabulous subscription. Thanks again to Fabulous for sponsoring this video, and now on with the show. Yes, there are robotic limbs that can be controlled by the mind. Perhaps they could be given the strength to crush rock and steel, but their dexterity, sensory feedback, and fine motor control pales in comparison to that of even a clumsy toddler. Simply picking up a spoon and bringing it to your face requires an incredible dance of tiny muscles in constant communication with the brain. Each of those tiny muscles engages just the right number of motor units to deliver just the right amount of power. The fascia tightens to send signals to other distant muscles, helping to operate countless built-in reflexes. We didn't even recognize the importance of fascia until very recently. We are light years from being able to reproduce this kind of fine movement. There can be no Winter Soldier, no Robocop. The brain is even more complex. Attempts to map neural networks in computers are, in my opinion, ultimately doomed to failure. The brain is not a static map, it is constantly shifting and changing. Neuroplasticity that occurs in the span of milliseconds may be responsible for functions as fundamental as working memory. Our brain is constantly reorganizing and growing, forming new connections. And we don't understand the laws that govern this process. We don't know the true purpose of white matter, though it outweighs grey matter considerably. We don't entirely know the rules that govern which neurotransmitters are released when in the brain or where. There are likely many we have yet to discover even, none of which is to mention the absolutely integral interplay between the body and the mind. The way in which hormones and neurotransmitters produced in the gut and elsewhere can affect cognition. The way that, as embodied cognition postulates, we may require a physical experience in order to grasp any concepts at all. We cannot improve on these bodies with technology. But perhaps we're getting ahead of ourselves. Perhaps there's another step we can focus on. Maybe our focus should instead be on taking full advantage of the bodies we have right now, because I believe that there is a huge amount of potential untapped within us. I believe that the human body is truly the final frontier. And I'm not talking about self-improvement or getting fitter. I'm talking about unlocking a step change in human performance by better understanding our biology. I believe that we can find ways one day to discover huge amounts of additional physical prowess, strength, agility and speed, perhaps by gaining greater conscious control over our motor units. I believe we can optimize our diets and lifestyles to live for longer. But I think that the most profound change will come from changing the way we think. And I call this Maxhumanism. If it sounds far-fetched, then consider just what we know the body to be capable of already. Consider that the blind can learn to see with sonar, using the tremendous adaptability of the human brain. Imagine if we taught ourselves a new language that was more efficient, allowing for greater data processing. Imagine if we could utilize technology to provide greater fidelity and sensory feedback, to transform the way we understand our own bodies during training, and help draw our attention to tiny sensations that already exist, thus greatly expanding their potential through further plasticity. Or if we used full-dive virtual reality to drop ourselves into impossible training scenarios that challenged us in new ways. What if we could find a more efficient way to consume information, flooding our brains with huge amounts of data in weeks or days and becoming adept in countless skills? Not using technology to augment the body then, but rather to better train it and eke out the most incredible performance possible. I believe we're capable of much more, and that this should be our focus. Instead of trying to become more than human, we should aim to become more human. Okay, so that was a thing. I hope you enjoyed that little ramble. If it all sounds a little grandiose, keep in mind here that my motivation is strictly to be more like Spider-Man, strictly childish. But I do believe that there's a lot of untapped potential within us, and that we are much further from being able to effectively augment our bodies than we think we are. And how will we achieve this step change? Well, obviously I haven't quite cracked that code just yet, but that's what a lot of my research and exploration is actually about. I have some cool ideas and I've found some cool information, and I'm going to be sharing that over the coming months. So stay tuned and look out for a video on superintelligence coming soon. So what do you guys think? Do you like the term Maxhumanism? Do you think it has any merit? Let me know below, and if you're interested in training both the body and mind in ways that go beyond simply losing weight or increasing your numbers on a few lifts, then check out my program Super Functional Training 2.0, link in the description. Either way, thank you so much for watching this one, and bye for now.